Fendi, like the bag. This is the I Refuse podcast. Child, they trying to get Jonathan Majors up out of here. So I thought we were going to make it to today without any kind of bullshit over the weekend. But in the matter of 24 hours, the timeline was in sheer chaos at the disbelief about Jonathan Majors, the muscular, beautiful black man that had a lot of you toxic masculinity types out there a month ago, and a tizzy over the magazine spread where he is embracing and wearing the color pink and wearing what you deem women colors, feminine colors, like you can define gender and sex by color. So here we are, in the time since then, right? We have seen the chemistry on the promotional circuit in support of Creed 3. The chemistry between Jonathan Majors and everybody's favorite nondescript black actor, acting-wise, Michael B. Jordan. So the chemistry during these interviews have been so strong that you guys have produced memes or, my favorite being where you guys took Michael B. Jordan's face and Jonathan Majors' face and superimposed them on the faces of Saida Garrett and Dennis Edwards and a still from the music video for Don't Look Any Further. I'm still hollering about that. So, over the course of 24 hours and 24 to 48 hours, news has come out that Jonathan Majors has been accused of assaulting a woman. First thought was it was like a random woman, like at a nightclub or something. Didn't think there was any kind of a relation between the two people. Very, very strange. But in the back of my mind, as some of y'all were, I was like, it would seem like it would be a white woman for some reason. It is Hollywood. It's not entirely uncommon for a black actor, particularly a young actor, this day and age, to be set up on a date, whether it's a PR stunt, coming into the industry on the arm of a white woman. And sure enough, before I even got to that point or had a chance to wrap my head around it, it comes out that the accuser that is accusing Jonathan Majors is indeed a white woman. And even still, I was like some of y'all where it was just like, I'm going to stick beside Jonathan Majors. And because the thing about it is like, it's the Nate Parker thing all over again. Jonathan Majors has been acting for a while. He didn't just come to the camera, to our TV screens last week. He's gone to school for acting. He's busted his butt on the circuit, through workshops and through school and college and under the tutelage of acting coaches for a long while, right? He's had some bit parts in TV, bit parts in films. It's when, just like Nate Parker, who also was on that same trajectory, there was no issue, nothing anti-Nate Parker up until the time that he released his movie Birth of a Nation, based on a true story in and around Nat Turner, right? Now, say what you want, that some people are fed up with like slavery movies and any movie that involves the image of a black male or a black female being subservient or passive or just weak in any kind of way, right? So here you have Birth of a Nation that Nate Parker not only stars in but also directed and I believe also produced, showing Nat Turner as the revolutionary that he was, an anti-slavery abolitionist, pushing back in great numbers back in those times against slavery, fighting against it, going the whole yard, and defying the historical narrative that black men are weak. You know, people out here of this variety hate that. So even though Nat Turner, just like Jonathan Majors, has been acting for a long while, why now? Because, you know, this thing here, like the story and then the malignment, because it was like once this story came out or this allegation came out, there were more stories produced that were anti-Jonathan Majors, that there were people in the industry, talent people, like talent personnel that were saying without naming Jonathan Majors, oh, there's this new actor, he's abusive, he's corrosive, he's aggressive, all these anti-black kind of things. And it's just one thing that remains constant in these kind of situations with black men is that the timing of it all. Like not even 24 hours after that broke on the timeline about this assault allegation that Jonathan Majors choked this white girl that could be or could not be his living girlfriend, who allegedly is white. There's a lot to deduce from that. The reality that once things are good, then once there's a disagreement or something that another person doesn't like that looks like them, and they see that you're on the TV, you're on the cameras, you're having all this success from Creed 3. Now there's this campaign, this character assassination, this malignment in an effort to limit any additional or future opportunities. One of which they're saying is the Marvel Cinematic Universe or DC comic opportunity. Because there are two things that elevate a person's profile these days. It's either a Ryan Murphy production or it's a Marvel Cinematic Universe situation. And it's like, isn't that interesting? You know, Creed 3 getting rave reviews, breaking box office records, making so much money, and the reviews, not only from the critics but also the audience, is that this is probably the best one in the series, probably the best in all of the Rocky movies. Not a hill I will die on. But I'm just here to, report what the streets are saying. So it's like the perfect storm. It's one hell of a coincidence that this is the time now that people want to be anti-Jonathan Majors. And usually what it is And this is another thing that doesn't get discussed enough. It's usually the ones that don't understand that have the most to say. You mix ignorance with arrogance in front of the right number of people, it's a problem. You know, one thing about Jonathan Majors that I've deduced from the interviews, from, people that have been interviewed that came from, the acting community, the universities, the acting schools, who know him personally, right? Say that Jonathan Majors is a pretty intense guy about his craft, being in character, very, very serious. And I believe Jonathan Majors to be a Virgo. So I resonate because Mr. Fox over here at the I Refuse podcast is a Virgo. So, it's all this scuttlebutt, the anonymous sources that have so much to say, also participating and perpetuating the black male stereotype. It's like, you can't, as long as you're anonymous, you have no issue with participating, you have no issue with gatekeeping or playing into the black stereotype that the black male is dangerous, toe the line between the reality, the nuance that comes with what's going on in front of you. That you have an actor that, like so many other actors, that are in character, take their craft very seriously, and you have people on the staff, the crew, that take a misunderstanding or can't read certain things, run back to their house, to their keyboards, or to their little coffee tables with their friends, and present this narrative and, spice it up, spin things. They upplay their feeling or their role as a victim very, very provocatively, while this person, while they're both on set, still in character, know that these artists are very sensitive, and now this person is abusive. It's not wrapping all the way around for me, and the shameful thing, the most dangerous part of this is that everybody living and breathing and existing these days is aware of the racial climate and how ignorance and credibility tend to go hand in hand. Like, nobody's going to second guess or beat a dead horse, question somebody that looks like them. Like, this person is not going to second guess this person. And with that, this person is aware of the privilege that they have, and know that they will get the instant support. And with that means the other person is treated differently, whether they're unknown to the middleman or not. That instantly means that we're the problem, we're the weak spot, it's not cool, Such and such had an issue, such and such is uncomfortable, such and such is this. So here we are with Jonathan Majors, where it's just like this story has gone from, oh, Jonathan Majors choked the white girl, to the white girl is his girlfriend, to we got multiple statements and video, to the accuser is recanting everything. But the thing about it, though, is like once the story or the inclination or the perception is out there that you're choking white people, nonetheless, white women, as muscular and as black and as big and powerful as you look, oh yeah, they're gonna push you off to the corner. The numbers for the Creed 3 may start to slow down. Those opportunities to work with big name directors and producers and such like that will slow down. And you may not ever come back from it. At some point you may end up like Isaiah Washington and retire from the industry. Because shit is dried up. It's too political and shit like that. But it's like every underdog, and whether they choose to stand on principle and stand on they know who they are and continue to talk their truth, what may irritate some and rub people the wrong way, like, people, not everybody's going to get it at first or understand, but as long as you stay true to yourself and tell the truth, which never changes, people may finally get it. People may not agree, but people will still watch whatever you create. I mean, look at Monique. She is about to drop her Netflix comedy special next month, and I will be watching it. I'm of the opinion that she's told nothing but the truth. I may not agree with the approach, but if you ask somebody what happened, a lot of us will tell the truth. Some of us will have selective honesty, and which is cherry pick or cut out some pieces when we want the focus to be the part that we don't like, or some people may add shit to play up the offensive variable while also minimizing their participation. But like I say, one thing that never changes is the truth. People are still going to gather around and watch her comedy special because we know her to be funny. And I bet a lot of numbers came in for that Netflix movie that she did. I forget the name of it, but people are still going to watch because there is virtue in being honest and being true to yourself. And a lot of us don't fall for the confusion and the smoke and the mirrors. Jonathan Majors, still young, still very much talented, and he'll still find work. It may be different. This shit will die down and go away. Because, lies don't stand that long. And the thing about toxic people that do this kind of shit is they don't change their behavior. They just change the targets. And, what people need to understand is that this is one of those things where a lot of people show. One of the many themes that I've spoken on the I Refuse podcast, especially 4 seasons in, is that the slip when it comes to black and white interpersonals, black and white dynamics, you know, even the most performative allies that hop in on opportunity to speak for or against black people, even they can't resist playing a part in the malignment. And the underbelly and all that is that they still have racial bias that is against us. Like, one thing about having that upper hand, man, the being obsessed with power and having the upper hand over somebody or over something, that's an addiction. That is an addiction, and unfortunately, public opinion matters more than, in most cases, the court of law. Like, there are people out here that just foam at the mouth at the opportunity to prove themselves as correct about somebody else. Like, there's probably a couple of corners of white people that are like, told y'all he was right. But what's also funny is that the same people that were not feeling the magazine cover and the photo spread that Jonathan Majors did about a month ago are now going up the hill to die for Jonathan Majors because of this allegation that he choked some white girl. And people are leaning more towards the white girl being his girlfriend. I'm like, y'all are weird. Y'all take issue with a black man wearing pink, embracing pink, not concerned about gender roles and not being defined by femininity and masculinity in the traditional sense, to now, once you've heard that this man may have choked a girl, y'all ready to march down to Washington and lay across the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and die for Jonathan Majors. Like, very fucking weird. Like, it's not even cool to even play with that kind of thing. But toxic masculinity, that's the thing about toxic masculinity and racial bias and racial prejudice, is it will always show up in the room. It'll, people toe the line, white people toe the line sometimes, and they can smile on your face and be next to you in photos and shit, but let a sliver of some negative shit about a black person that they've shared spaces with come to the center of the table. Come to the center of the table, and they will be the leader in the character assassination and the malignment. I've experienced it personally with people that have leather club patches on their back and on the front of their vests that I've had in my house before. And in the back of my mind, even with having a different experience with them in comparison to the experiences people that look like them have with those same people, I was like, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe that can't be real. But it's like, you don't know. The thing about a snake bite is you don't know you've been bitten by a snake until it's too late. And you don't know. You must understand that, like, any dog that will take a bone will carry a bone. So on this side of the coin, in this segment, you have yet again another malignment tour and a character assassination tour against Jonathan Majors that's trying to grow legs, right? But on the flip side of things, you have another thing that's going on where if the shit don't apply, let it fly, and a hit dog will always holler. So here we have a story that broke that Judge Joe Brown, the same Judge Joe Brown that talks so slow, like he talks real slow until he gets mad, and then that's when the smoke comes out of his ears like he's a fucking kettle. If he's not planning to, he's probably already filed the paperwork to sue Sheryl Lee Ralph, the Sheryl Lee Ralph that's on Abbott Elementary, for accusing him of sexually assaulting her. Well, here's the gag. When Sheryl Lee Ralph came forward with the story that she was sexually assaulted by a judge, she didn't drop any names. And you know how, like, all right, you know how, I think it's like an old Albert Einstein quote, something to the effect of, it's best to leave people speculating, like when it comes to being an idiot or being dumb or something, it's best to leave people speculating than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Something like that. Judge Joe Brown, sir, you getting the side eye right now, and I don't know how long it's been. It didn't say in the story that this was something that was new. I couldn't even fathom visually an event or a social thing or a charity thing that would bring the two of them in the same room, because he's a TV judge, courtroom judge, a lawyer, all that stuff. And she is an actress, but I know that she's also married to, I think, a senator or a councilman or something. So maybe it was one of those political balls, right? But also it's like, when? I'm curious to know when. And it's wild to me because it's like, Judge Joe Brown, you be sitting up on that bench talking your shit. You be on that bench talking your shit up on your courtroom show, going against thugs with the golds and alcoholics and Rick James when he was on one of those episodes, going against like real people who have like criminal backgrounds and throwing up gang signs and shit. You get up on your little podium, your little bench, and you start to preaching about the right thing to do is you don't even have a witness and you don't even have the receipts. He really does talk that slow. And it's like, you do all this, you've made a brand or an image or a name of yourself on TV where the money is longer on being, that guy, to you out here allegedly sexually assaulting women. And, I've clowned older black men for, being super flirty with pretty women. I've seen it. Like, super flirty, super performative, and putting on a show down at the little checkout line at the Safeway or the Giant Food. When you see a pretty young tender in the checkout line, you want the cashier to show her extra treatment. You putting on all the razzle dazzle to make sure this particular cashier plays this particular pretty young tender extra attention. And the gag is, you don't even work at the damn supermarket. So many old Otis and old Gordon and old Rufus with not even a basket of groceries, with your pleated pants and your suspenders, and come up out of here, because you're giving real creep vibes, right? So I even though I clown about old men being creeps, and coming up in Baltimore, coming up during the pimp and the crack era and stuff, like, these dudes past 60 still on the corner, posted up against the brick wall, posted up at the little Sunoco or the little BP or the little, convenience store with the Cadillac doors open, got the cigarette hanging off of their lip, trying, just casing the joint for young tenders, and promising to pay the light bill. Hey, the little tender walk by in their little skirts. Hey girl, let me pay your light bill, your grass bill, your green bill, your lawnmower bill, your car bill, hey girl, I'll set you up real well, girl. Come on, girl. With your little Red Lobster gift cards and your little Ollie's cash, trying to holler at these young tenders. So it's wild, right? Like, I think there's definitely some truth to it, to the Judge Joe Brown allegedly sexually assaulting Sheryl Lee Ralph. It's not uncommon in peasant world where I live, where we work the 9 to 5, work 5 days a week. It's not that much different in the industry, where you have people that have a pedigree, who are of a classy image, gorgeous, carry themselves really well, to be in the same room with former street dudes, current street dudes, former street dudes that are now judges and lawyers and record label executives, that even though they're in a different tax bracket now, they still have the mindset of a hood nigga, of a hood dude. The accessibility is greater now, and they have teams of people that can speak on their behalf or be paid well and above their flat rate from being on their payroll, to change stories, to shift the narrative, to defend their the people that finance their lifestyles. And the shit could get messy. But baby, just like I saw that thing on the timeline come across about Jonathan Majors, I said, when I saw that story about Judge Joe Brown, I said, oh, not you. Just like New York. Oh, not you. But unfortunately, the reality is once black dudes, white dudes get to a certain age, and you see it more with like black dudes, once they get to like late 50s, mid 60s, I don't know if their frontal lobe is disintegrating or starting to recede. They just get real creepy with it and predatory with it. Like the two greatest examples the last 5 or 10 years of that very thing is Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein. It's like you get an older dude and mix that with some power. It's crazy. Judge Joe Brown, oh my goodness. Because he got to be pushing 70. If he not, he got to be up there. He got to be on the back end of 60. Hell, he's probably on the back end of 70. He been slow talking the greater part of 30 years up on our TVs. Like, I don't know what it is about you, you old man. Like, y'all should just stay in the house and stay away from people. You know, like you got your retirement, you get your residuals from TV. Like, speak less when the cameras start rolling, because yet and again, y'all out here getting the eyebrow from Mr. Fox. Like, but you. Like, Eric Braeden, Victor Newman from The Young and the Restless, bitch. Like, why are you that pressed, right? So Eric Braeden, I almost called him Victor Newman like it was his biological name, then came out against Eva Longoria because Eva Longoria said some stuff, kind of, I guess, looking down on soap operas, soap opera acting, as not like a valid form or, you know, a respectable thing of acting. Which is funny to me because didn't Eva Longoria start on soap operas before Desperate Housewives? And it's crazy because it's like, neither before Desperate Housewives or since can we really associate Eva Longoria with anything greater. Meanwhile, you got Eric Braeden, who is roughly 900 years old. I think he is twice as old as Pat Robertson of the 700 Club, also still alive. Here we are at a moment right now where Jimmy Carter, the kindest, probably the most non-problematic living president, or president from that era of politics, in hospice care. This man done fell a couple of times in hospice care, still hanging in there. It's been roughly about a month or 2 months in hospice care, while we got Eric Braeden out here saying some mess when he should just stick to doing Young and the Restless, running Victoria through the mud for the 50th season so far, saying some stuff in response to Eva Longoria. And the gag is, I believe what Eva Longoria said was years ago. So why now? Also, soap operas are nothing more than like a circus. Like, you really can't take it seriously. As somebody that has been black 40 summers, going on 41 summers, I've said this probably in the last episode on the streaming side. Go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify to catch the I Refuse podcast in addition to the YouTube channel that's right here in the background. Soap operas have been part of my childhood, right? When it's not being played at the apartment, it's being played in every doctor's office that my mother has ever visited growing up. And there's always been two constant storylines, right? Victor is constantly doing Victoria wrong. Drusilla and her mom are getting into it. You know, you had Shamar Moore, you had the Christoph, the Christoph guy, rest in peace, and you had the other black dude with the white streak in his hair, as brothers. You had Victoria Rao, her character died probably like 4 or 5 times. Like, if she not getting shot at, she hanging off a cliff, and then they bring her back as a different look. Like, the fact that I still remember that, Eric Braeden has played Victor Newman longer than I've been alive. Eric Braeden is in his 80s. But you couldn't tell me that man ain't pushing 900. But it's not like Eva Longoria was wrong. Like, soap operas, outlandish storylines, y'all done killed 5 people, bring the same actors back as a different person, or bring them back physically but as a ghost or in a flashback. Some people overact on some episodes. You'll never see any of these actors in like big movies. You don't know them outside of like General Hospital, Young and Restless. Like, it got to a point to where it was like, even when I saw, I can't think of the actor's name, but he was on, I think, Young and the Restless too, or not General Hospital. It was another one in there. Dark hair. When he was in Low Down Dirty Shame, I was like, oh, I called him by his character name. Don't even, to this day, don't even know his, remember his biological name, because you don't know them outside of soap operas. And you come to soap operas for some mess, for some shit that doesn't make any kind of sense. There's little to no continuity. Like that, the slaps be off the hook. They it's a lot. So it's like Eva Longoria wasn't wrong, but also Eva Longoria got some damn nerve to look down soap operas, because a lot of the people that make it to network television in prime time have one or so, X amount of years done soap operas, little appearances here and there. Eva Longoria is not the first nor the last. I believe Vivica Fox has been on a couple of episodes before, like Pre-Fame, Halle Berry. Who else? I think even like Taraji P. Henson has done a couple, little small bit roles on some soap operas and shit like that. So it's like, girl, what are you doing? Like, wasn't nobody really checking for you? But here it is, again, it's like when, people start shit, throw a little shade in an interview question and defend what they've said by saying, well, I was asked this, to get shit started. And then when shit blows up in their face, when they're looking down on a particular person or a particular industry, they want to be like, well, that's not how I meant it. What's Eva Longoria doing these days? I mean, the shit was funny. Eric Braeden responding. He's probably had so much lunchtime in his face that he can't even evoke a particular emotion on his face. Like, he's looked exactly the same since I was 9. Still looks scary. it probably has a look that could turn Medusa to stone. But this is where we are with like old like men that once they get older they just they lose their filter, but I think they also lose the frontal lobe, whatever that thing is called that controls judgment and discernment and nuance, right? And we have this mess here. A fucking mouse. So this is Mr. Fox, the I Refuse podcast. Be sure to check out the latest season of the I Refuse podcast on Spotify, Apple. We got the YouTube channel. Oh, and look what's in the background. The YouTube channel. I dropped a new episode not even 2 weeks ago on the YouTube channel. We're roughly 24, 25 episodes into season 4 on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and 6 other streaming platforms. We release things over there each week. Follow, subscribe, wherever you see me. We also have a Twitter. If you missed it, all the information would be on this side or this side. So there you have it. I will catch you guys later.